What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS.
Established over 100 years ago, Watkins Books is one of the world's oldest and leading independent bookshops specializing in esoterica. We have the widest selection of esoteric books in the UK, and our friendly and knowledgeable staff are here to assist you in a unique ambience of our shop. So come and visit us in the heart of London as we're open every day.
The More Show is supported by Mindscape, Paranormal and UFO Matrix magazines, available for download on all major digital platforms. The comments and views expressed on The More Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The More Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online. You're now watching the UK's only alternative late night talk show, and I'm your host, Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. On today's show, I'm joined with Tara-jenelle Walsch, who is the founder and spirit behind the Soul Break Greeting Card Company and the Socialized Personal Development Program. Soul Break greeting cards are sold worldwide, carrying her original designs and personal messages of encouragement and empowerment. Tara-jenelle speaks publicly about building emotional awareness and greatly enhanced living through the socialized concept, which she believes creates soul connections and has the ability to enrich the world at large. She joins me today to discuss her book, Soul Courage. Tara-jenelle Walsch, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Good to be here. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you as well. I never ever imagined that I'd have the daughter of Neale Donald Walsch on the show. I remember a few months ago when it came through, and I was like, no way, that can't be Neale Donald Walsch's daughter. And I only sort of brushed over the book very quickly, and I've only gone a bit more in depth now. Did you ever have any clue that you'd ever write your own book?
Yes.
Oh, you did? Yeah. Okay, next question.
Well, I can
Really, you you always had that knowing that you would, yeah?
I did. I always knew.
Wow.
I was a poet when I was younger, and like all children, I ran to my diary and would write my feelings, and then I turned into poetry, and then I started making like fake books, sewing, stitching the end, and making stories up. And this is way before my dad even wrote. I just was that kind of child, always from the beginning, attracted to the written word and the spoken word as well, as a form of expression, one of my higher forms of expression. And probably for the last 20 years, I've known I'm going to write a book. And it's been grueling because I haven't had the courage to do it until now. Yes.
Until now. Yeah, absolutely. I said I was going to ask you about this just off air as well, because we had a bit of a long chat off air, which was quite interesting. Growing up with your father, Neale Donald Walsch, you went through a very special experience in one sense with the books that he wrote and the lives that he touched. What was it like growing up, with Dad's sort of success as well, in a sense?
First off, I didn't grow up with it. As you know, I'm older. He and my mother split up when I was very young, and he's been married several times. And he was in Oregon, and I was actually back east in Maryland at the time when he was moving into all this. And I got closer to him the older I got. So what it was like in that aspect, I wasn't living with him every day, but I got closer to him. It didn't feel like anything was different. It just felt like Dad, because he wouldn't act like Neale Donald Walsch when he was hanging out with, his kids. So it wasn't until I got old enough, probably in my late 30s and early 40s, to see, every time we went somewhere, people stop him in the airport and here and there, and like a little more of the fame. So that aspect of it really didn't affect me. But the aspect that did affect me, the part that was immensely wonderful, is that I was gifted with this incredible insight, which most parents have anyway. But my father knows everything. Most parents do as well. But he just is a solution finder and has the most amazing wisdom. And that, growing up with that, was reinstilled my confidence in a lot of ways. And it also, in an odd way, made me a little bit more nervous to come out, because I saw how amazing he was. So it's that double-edged thing. But
absolutely. No, I can imagine that. And did you ever read the books?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. So you read these books, and I mean, what did they do for you? I mean, did they reawaken anything in you when you read them?
Yes. Well, I remember reading the first one and going, exactly. Yes. Wow. Totally. And a lot of it in there, of course, was new to me because I was younger. But most of it, for the most part, I felt like, yes, someone finally put words to how I've been feeling, but not consciously feeling. How I've had the things that I've had deep inside. So, yeah, I've gotten a great deal from his work. Absolutely.
But you've still been on your own journey, though. Even reading those books, you've still been in some dark places, because, well, I'm just quoting here, you sort of hit rock bottom with an eating disorder, and you were rushed to hospital.
Right, absolutely. Just because you have a father of any stature doesn't mean that you don't have your own journey, and which is interesting because a lot of people think, wow, really? You actually have problems? Well, I didn't think you would have anything to worry about since, Neil's your dad. Really? I'm human. I have almost even double to worry about because I have to, it's hard to come out and hard to be me without fearing judgment and so forth. But yes, I did hit rock bottom and went through a huge eating disorder for about 7 years, and I flew to Johns Hopkins Hospital, and I had severe depression, and I got through it. And that getting through it on the other side was part of a huge part of my awakening, and what I share in my book Soul Courage, and where I came up with most all of the insights in that book.
Yeah. Okay. So why did you write Soul Courage then? What was the push behind it?
I think the push behind it was when I was released from the hospital I saw the world in an entirely new way. I saw people in a new way. I saw myself in a new way. I felt things in a new way. And I felt this new passion, this new almost sense of urgency, if you will, about what are we all doing here? We're all just going to work, clocking in, clocking out, getting our paychecks on Friday, and then going out drinking and dancing on the weekends. What's it all about, Alfie? You know, what's the deal? That shook me up, you know? And that made me like, I want to make a difference. I want to do something about this. I was lit up. I've got goosebumps right now, even just reminiscing. And that's when I started my greeting card company. I didn't go right into the book. This was years ago. And that's when I started the greeting card company.
Okay, so it went from the greeting card company and then eventually to writing this book. And where did the wisdom for this book come from? Where does this information come from?
Flowed right out of me. A lot of it I've known, a lot of it I discovered. As I said, part of my discovery after my experience in the hospital. And a lot of it I hadn't even known that I'd known. Like I remember I'd be typing and the good old muse would pop along. And there's a specific part in the book about instinctual willingness, or I don't even know what the other one is right off the thing, but a whole section about willingness. And I just remember writing it and then pulling back and reading it and going, that's way cool. How did you know that? Where did that come from? That makes sense. And there's a part of me that's like, are you making this up? And there's another part of me that's saying, no, I mean, I am and I'm not. Aren't we all making it up? But there's a part inside that's saying, this is my truth. And it's finally been given a door to come out.
Yeah, I just wonder what part of you're connecting with, what door you're opening to bring that information through that you've probably never thought about neither.
Possibly my soul, dare I say.
Possibly. I mean, you know, as your dad had a conversation with, as he would call it, with God. Mm-hmm. My truth is that God aspect is connected to our oversoul, connected to our soul. We are connected to this aspect called God. I mean, it's not a separate ball in the sky or some old man or woman that's separate from us. It's the isness of everything. It seems to be on this plane of existence, or multi-dimensional planes of existence, where we go to and come from. I don't know. I can't even really explain it. It's just it's dog spelt backwards, really. It's just a word.
You know, I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely. And I was baptized Catholic actually when I was younger, and my whole mom's side of her family is Catholic, and my dad's too, for that matter. And I remember going to church and just looking at all the murals and the things around, going, what's this big story that we made up? What's going on? So I've never quite felt attracted to organized religion in that way. And I agree with you in feeling that it's more of an energy, and that God essence is soul essence, and that it's all one, and that we're all one. And it's just this energy vibrating. And when we quiet ourselves enough to it, and we tune into it, that we're open to tune into it, then we can allow it to guide us. And that was part of my journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And how healing was it to write the book as well?
Oh my God. In so many different ways, on so many different levels. One, first and foremost, to finally get, like, on a personal level, it was like I finally had a notebook, for lack of better words, with all of my thoughts. I mean, not all of them. Whatever. The main thoughts that were in my head and spinning around in my life for the last couple of years. It was like I had finally put them all in one place. And so when I had them out, I sprawled them all out on the table and, figured out what went where and took a look at it. And I was like, this is cool. This is like little bits of me that are finally all together, and I can understand myself better. So on a personal level, it actually helped me to understand my own self better. And I mean, it's all on a personal level. It just felt immensely rewarding, relieving, like I'd finally given birth to something that I've been holding on to for so long. And but most importantly, I wanted to to mean something to someone else. I want people to get something from it. So, yeah.
And we're going to get into that as well, as in what they're going to get from it, most definitely. Now you've written this book, where are you? What sort of person are you now? Are you? Should we start with happier?
No. I'm the same. I really am. And it's so funny because it just came out in November, the book. And I had all these grandiose thoughts of, when I write a book, then, I mean, this isn't why I did it by any chance. But, there's always the ego up there, which is not a bad guy, but it's up there floating around. And it's saying things like, everything will be okay once you write the book. That's absolutely not the reason I wrote it. I want that on the record. But there was those thoughts were floating up there, and that I would feel more fulfilled and happier, and that life would start to happen and so forth. I think it's more of a platform for who I am. It probably gives me more substance. I get more substance from myself, and others may feel a deeper understanding and connection with me. But as far as life changing, no, I no. And to be fair, it's only been 5 months, so things could change, but I'm not holding out for it.
But okay. I suppose what I meant as well is since you had this aha moment coming out of recovery, yeah, in a sense, you're that different person from once you went in, so you are you can handle life situations a bit differently. Are you looking at things different? You must be looking at things differently.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I had before I even wrote the book. Absolutely.
It's still surprising to me that with even with all that wonderful, well, it's true though. I suppose I was going to say that even with all that wonderful knowledge that your dad brings through, yeah, however he's bringing it through, I could sit here and channel a book maybe, and maybe I'm going to start this Friday. I've taken my first day off in the week. And for the next 4 weeks, I'm taking a day off just to channel this book that wants to come through. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's how crazy is it when you're sat in an audience with a medium there telling you there's a book to write, and then he didn't even know me from Adam, and yeah, that's true. I was planning on writing a book. But even with all that fantastic information that I might be able to bring through, it still doesn't, we're still having this journey, aren't we? We're still getting stuck. It's still destructive to ourselves. And I'm sure even your dad, we're not making him out to be a guru or a god here, can be an angry man sometimes, isn't always happy, and he's, we become uncentered, don't we, sometimes? And, I was saying to you before the interview, I'm not in the happiest place right now, in a sense. God knows why, in a bigger picture, because I think I'd be here all day with, yeah, and it's using it's how do we apply this work that comes through us then to bring us back?
Yeah, well, isn't that the challenge of a physical life? I think that's probably one of the reasons for the journey. Because even when we know, like my father, I know what I know. I don't know as much as whatever. Everyone knows what they know. Even when we know, it's not like we live through that knowingness all of the time, 24/7. We'd go crazy, I think, if we didn't slide back in and out and back and forth. And then when we slide, connect back in, then we feel that freedom. Like, yeah, there you are. Okay, I got this. I'm going to trust this. I'm going to just keep going with this.
Did you ever feel that you've lost your... what is your purpose now, before I ask you, have you lost it? What do you feel is your purpose now?
I believe everyone has many purposes. I don't think that I just...
That's very true.
Right. So I don't even want to answer that, because then I want to lock myself into some box of, this is your purpose.
Okay, no, that's true. Only that became relevant to me just this past week, actually. Yeah, I agree with you, actually, there. Maybe there's not just one purpose, maybe there's multiple, yeah. And we can pigeonhole. Well, what is driving you now? Where are you heading? What would be driving you now you brought this out?
My passion has been in the last couple of years greatly around allowing ourselves to feel our feelings and being aware if we are and if we're not, and making the time to do so, whatever those feelings are, whether they're joyful or whether they're feelings of fear. And because I believe, and one of the things that I noticed when I did get out of the hospital was that everyone was doing what I was doing before I got in the hospital. Everyone was numbing themselves out with one thing or another. Heck, maybe it wasn't an eating disorder, but they were drinking, or they were drug addicts, or maybe it wasn't even that bad. They were overworking, they're over Facebooking, anything to hide from themselves and protect themselves from being revealed to another. So that's what I've noticed.
Okay. And what would be okay? So it's someone. If we're going to just talk about the book now as well. Well, we've been talking about the book, but it's interesting to hear your journey as well as the author of the book.
Right.
Someone that's actually put this wonderful material together. I'm just going to ask you one final question, and we're going to move on. I'm sorry, I know we're 18 minutes into the interview now, but
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Your father's work. Would you ever see yourself continuing your father's work? Would you want to, do you think?
No, and that's actually been discussed among the family. He's got 9 kids, as you may know. And we've had family meetings, and he says, what's going to happen when I die? Who's going to take over? And, there some of us that are a little bit more comfortable speaking and a little bit more savvy writing than others. And so it was put out there that he just wants it to go on. And as much as I believe in it, I felt just so loyal to my own version of it, which, I mean, if you ever do read my book, then you will see that much of it dovetails with the things that my dad is saying, but in my way and through my experience. So I have to be loyal to myself, and I can't just carry his torch.
That must have been a really tough decision to make. I bet that was, and you make it sound not easy, but I can imagine it wasn't easy for you.
Very tough. I mean, because it would be an easier road to just run around and continue carrying the message of Conversations with God, which has already been laid out. The current has already been cleared away for years. People know what it's about. There's a following. Much easier to jump on that train, but than to start something of my own where I have no idea what's going to happen. That whole not knowing that we were talking about earlier. Yes.
Yeah.
But,
well, I'll say this. I've been practice channeling now for a year or more. Most of the audience know about this, but just recently, I don't understand it. But what's been coming through is a bit mind-boggling in the sense that there's a much greater reality than what we've been told. And I was kind of skimming on this before the interview, that there's apparently a reality that's beyond any books that are out there, a framework that's bigger than what we understand, and the framework that's out there now is out there to just get us to a level.
Right.
It's not the definitive framework. Apparently, it's much greater.
Right. And in which ways?
Our current greater than our current understanding of what we of the way it's been explained. It hasn't come through exactly. There's been glimpses of it coming through, even on a channeling I did on Monday, or in a sense of like a nature of reality. It was very difficult to put into words, but it's almost like our current understanding is not there.
We're just skimming the surface.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but not an untruth surface, a surface that gets us to a point.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of know that. I mean, anyone that's evolved or semi-aware, I think would know that it's not like, we're here, we made it. I've thought about that actual thing before, that this can't be all there is. But this is part of evolution. Once we all get to this point, then we've risen, and then we all get to that, and we're still not all to this point. So there's still much work to be done.
well, who knows what you're going to bring through when, there's something extra that maybe wants to come through you.
Who knows?
Who knows? You don't know. You don't. I mean, with your dad's, with your dad's name there and everything. I'm not saying you'd use his name. I'm not saying that, but it's a platform, and who knows what extra something you're going to bring through. That's a great benefit to other people, as this first book is. You don't know. You don't know, do you?
Well, yeah, and no one knows, regardless of who their father is. That's the point.
Oh no, no. And I don't mean it like that. I know it sounds like I'm saying that, but I'm just, there's a reason that you chose each other.
Yeah.
Of course there is.
And I do believe that. So, I believe we chose each other.
Yeah. So I'm coming from that space, really. That of that greater distinction, definitely. Okay, to your book, right? Eventually. Okay, now, when someone comes across your book, what journey is it going to take them on, do you think?
Well, it all depends on where they are in their journey. So there's really no one-way answer for that. If they're already kind of doing the work, then it may just be more of a clarification for them. They may feel like, aha, kind of like I felt when I read my dad's, but I was still enlightened and still had aha moments, but much of it was like, yeah, okay. So it could be that, or it could be like brand new, the glass ceiling pops out like, geez, I never thought about it like this at all. That sure provides some freedom within, completely changing my container around, my thoughts around that. Or it may be hokey pokey to some people. I don't know. I think it really much depends on where the person is that's reading it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and what has been the feedback so far from readers, in a sense?
I've had great feedback. I'm so excited to say that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for, and I know I shouldn't, but I know that there's going to be a wave or some people that are disagreeing and they can't wait to share it publicly. But thus far, I've had lots of wonderful feedback, and people, have been saying that it's just a very authentically written, very simply written, kind of almost like a guidebook, very clear, not confusing, and but yet very insightful. And that's exactly what I wanted. I did not want to be, super intellectual or real silly shallow. I wanted to somehow have a combination so that I could share my personality with the readers and my insight through that. So yeah, I'm excited.
Well, absolutely, and the book starts off, I hope I've got this right as well, it starts off with really questioning, who are we, who is the bigger me, in a sense, the expansive me, basically, am I a soul within a body, am I a soul having a human experience?
Right, that's right, the very first page is, who am I, or who are you, something like that. And I wanted it to be dramatic, just have that question on the page alone, because of the importance of that question. That question is rarely asked, I think. I mean, in our industry, in the spiritual industry, of course it is. But in the whole world, I don't think it's asked enough. I think people do go through their days and not hit what I call life's most important realization for a long time. And that being the aha moment that we go, oh my God, I'm not my body. Oh, geez. It's not about how, dressed up my house is. It's not about my children. It's not about my weight and my dog that's not barking in the back room. But it's not about any of that. That time in our life when we just get it. And we totally click into, oh. And so that is why I put that at the beginning, because I think it's the most important realization that starts us off. It starts to peel the orange off for our journey.
It definitely is an important one, but what does that verse, in a sense, someone who says, right, I don't believe that life continues, I've lost my parents, I don't believe it continues, they've never come back to see me, I never thought about it in the first place anyway, even though I've had a death in the family, I still don't believe, or that's not my truth. But you know what? I'm still going to make the best of my life. I don't need spirituality, and I don't need to be thinking that I'm a soul, because it's not my truth. What verse is that person to having the wakey experience of, well, potentially I could be, because it makes more sense to me and it makes more of a truth to me.
Well, yeah, there are these people out there, and everyone's got their own path. I'm not about trying to change someone's mind. I'm about just sharing my truth and my experience. And the bulk, the meat of my book, you don't have to believe in anything. You don't have to believe that you are a soul in a physical body, or any of the portion that I discussed in the beginning. So the bulk of the book is discussing a lot about energetic and emotional availability towards one another in this physical realm on our daily life, and how much we're withholding and how much we're sharing of ourselves, and real life stuff that's tangible for someone that may not believe that at all. So
yeah, I mean, I ask these questions as well. I mean, yes, I do really feel, and it's a truth that I've come from somewhere else. I'm going to go back to it. But it's still difficult down there, isn't it?
it is.
Yeah, it's not always easy. It's not always easy, and I think sometimes there can be a lot of noise in our head, can't there?
Mind chatter, one of the biggest distractions ever. But notice, when we're aware of it, we can control it a little bit more. When we're not aware of it, it runs off and it's got a life of its own. And sometimes I catch myself, I go, whoa, what are you doing? Where have you been for the last few minutes? Get a hold of yourself. Not that I can't relax or days off or always have to be thinking or feeling something deeply meaningful, but when it's moving without a purpose or a direction or anything that's beneficial to my higher self, it's like, why am I just letting fear and doubt and all this bogus stuff, go, come on. Why am I letting it do that? That's not my deeper truth.
Yeah, I've started just blocking the whole thing. Even, I know I said earlier on I was blocking my feelings as well.
Yeah, I did.
But I've just had, I know it's not always good, but I've just had to really put a block on it, because it's just driving me crazy. It really is. And it was amazing when I blocked it and just stopped it. Actually, the world was a very peaceful place. It wasn't so noisy. I think there's a lot of the pressure we put on ourselves sometimes, isn't there? In the sense that, and I was saying this to you as well, that we haven't done this so far. All our friends have got this type of life, and we're here. My bank account's, doing that. It's not going up. The job that I'm doing is not bringing in the money yet. Am I? Did all these thoughts? Do you know what I mean?
I
All this.
get it, man. Are you kidding? I still have that junk floating around. I'm not married. I don't have children. I'm not a big career woman. I don't make tons of money. I'm not being fed money by my father. That's for sure. And the book is not making me a millionaire. So I'm still scraping by every month. So yeah, I get you.
Right, yeah.
And then going on Facebook doesn't help when you see everyone showing their babies everywhere, showing all their happiness and the best husband in the world and all these things.
What they're eating, and what they're It's true. So you're in the same, not the same situation. I'm not saying that, because you're not. Your story is very different to a lot of people's out there. But in general, what you're saying is that we're all, a lot of us, and I would say a good portion of us, maybe the whole planet in some respects, is still at this stage. Yet we're writing books like this.
Well, I don't believe that it has to be separate from. I don't believe that if you feel frustrated by life not moving forward, or if you feel grief around never having children, that means you're not in the state of awareness that you claim you were when you wrote the book. I believe that is something deeply part of us, but that aspect of us is what's human. We're feeling our feelings. So I don't think it's one or the other. Either evolved enough not to have those feelings, is what I'm saying, and you're completely living in peace and happiness, which is just not feasible 24/7. That's just not realistic, I don't believe.
No, no. Yeah, so even though we've got this truth within this book and many books, I mean,
Right.
even to your dad's book as well, what we're saying is it doesn't take away the wants and the things that even you mentioned there, or and anything else. It just what's it do for you then? What's it, just reminds us again, how does it help you then?
It makes me more aware of it. Like, for instance, I was online. I just had to have a fuzzy pillow for my living room. I'm looking everywhere for the best one. Most ridiculous thing ever. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're like, totally, you don't need this. You're using this as a resistance technique, which is what I call it when you overwork, or when you're trying to get out of feeling something that you're feeling in the moment. And what I was feeling in the moment probably was loneliness, or I don't know. It could have been one of a dozen things. But and that's not to say that shopping isn't fun, but that's a whole different experience from when you go down the rabbit hole and you're online for hours and you realize, geez, it's been 2 hours and I'm just looking for a fuzzy pillow. What am I doing here? What's really happening? So what it changes for me is the awareness, and I try not to beat myself up when I do realize that I still do that, because I am still human. I try to just notice that it is what it is, and then take a look at, okay, what were you possibly hiding from? What is going on? And try and fill into that. So,
Can I ask you not a personal question, but would you find it difficult to meet someone that's not on the same level as you?
absolutely, I need this, and that is so important to me on so many levels. It's like I need this spiritually, I need this like humor-wise, intellectually, and I try not to need, don't be attached and all this jazz that you hear. I try not to, but that's what I'm attracted to, and I want to feel that I'm with someone that gets me. I don't want to be the teacher. I've been there, done that, and I don't want to be
Caretaker.
taught. I want to feel like I'm experiencing something with someone.
Yeah, that is a problem, is it? Sometimes we can. I'm sure you've experienced the caretaker role.
Oh yeah.
Before.
Right.
Yeah, I have as well. And there were great parts of it. Don't get me wrong. But it was never, But I think the person you are now. I'm going down in between me and you, but the person you are now is not the person, you were 5 years ago, probably let alone a year ago as well. So I guess we're always evolving and changing, aren't we, to the person that we are. But I mean, I think most people, when they pick up a book like this, they're going through something, and they're not the same person. And it changes everything, even to the people that we're looking for as well. Yeah, it's a difficult one, that, isn't it?
Race.
Not easy, is it? So, but then, are you putting a pressure on yourself? God, what is this show turning into? Are you putting a pressure on yourself, right? That actually, if you just allowed and let let that person that wasn't really on that same spiritual level come in, that it would naturally be the right one anyway. It's a difficult one.
I did that game a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And it's
a difficult one. It is. So even again with all this knowledge, it's still hard, right? We need to do a book. We need to bring a book through on relationships. I think spiritual dating.
I've just gotten to the point where sometimes I feel, I'm going to be very honest, sometimes I feel like I've given up. But more often than not, I feel that I just have surrendered. And there's a huge difference between the two, as I'm sure you know. When we give up, we're in despair. And we just don't care anymore, and we've just given up. But when we surrender, then we just let it be what it is. And that's pretty much where I am about 85% of the time. I do have my moments where I'm just like, what's the deal? I know I got my stuff, but I'm great, But for the most part, I've just surrendered into, if this is not what's supposed to be happening, then it's not. I've got to trust my path.
And judging from some of the titles in this book, it touches on law of attraction in a sense, manifestation, and why can't we go out there and manifest the things that we want then? So if it's relationship, wealth, or purpose, why can't we go on and because judging from your book, it seems to be saying as well that we're in charge.
Well, I think we can, and that's one of the things reasons why I beat myself up all the time, because I'm like, you could have all these things if you would go out and grab them. I don't go out to meet people rarely. I mean, I have friends and so forth, but I don't go out looking for men. And I have my greeting card company, and I do things that make me a living. But I'm not a big pursuer of, money, money, money. I could be more. So if I really wanted it, then that would be something that I would go after. And I believe that would be available to me, because I believe that it's available to everyone. It's just a matter of energetically stepping into that. I do believe that. But that's why... Go ahead.
No, please go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to say, that's why when I'm in that 15% or that I was talking about, where I'm feeling like I give up, and I'm like, in my little pity party, I'm like, what's your problem? You know that you could have these things if you stepped into it, if you got out there, if you did what it took to get the man, get the money, or get all the things that you think you want that are going to make you happy. But I think somewhere deep inside, I know that those things won't make me happy, that it comes from within. So I'm just kind of sitting back and doing my part, trying to share my insight and create products that will support others in doing so as well. But I'm not avidly out there. So.
Yeah. So many thoughts going on in my head when you were saying all that. Yeah. Do you think being, with this extra knowledge sometimes, or with this extra truth, it complicates it? It complicates life in a sense.
Well, yes, as they say, ignorance is bliss. And that's so true. I know a lot of people back east, especially, that aren't involved in any sense of faith, kind of what you were describing about 10 minutes ago. And, their life is just about going to work and, seeing the kids and getting them off to soccer and all that. But they seem to be happy. So, of course they run into some of the same things that I do, but they, I don't know,
Well, yeah, or you could say they seem to be happy, but maybe they're not.
That's right.
Maybe they're not. Maybe the smiles we see on people's faces, without making the world seem so depressive, right? But maybe, at deeper levels, maybe most people are not. Yeah. It's just a load of BS. And actually, there's a lot of fears that people have, and, things they've not, whatever it is, but deep down unhappiness. And maybe, people like us, in a sense, and that we're not separating it from anyone else, but just some people that looking at it from this perspective, or from this alternative perspective, are trying to find that peace that everyone else is seeking by just looking at an alternative way to find it.
Right, I agree. And I write a portion in my book about wearing invisible cloaks to protect ourselves. Those cloaks where we're all smiles, or we're one thing or another, but we're really not ourselves. We're hiding and protecting. So absolutely, I believe that so much of the world is wearing masks and facades and just trying to get through. I don't even think we're conscious of it. It's like we're deceiving people on purpose.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm just straight away. If I be honest and think about most of my friends, I know a lot of secrets. Shit, I hope they're not watching.
Don't tell them.
I don't know. Yeah, no one knows me. Don't worry. Right? But if I think about it, Christ, not good. Not, things aren't based on good things, and I can't say more than that. But yeah, it's not so good. So it's all based on BS, a lot of it, and that's just the people that I know.
Right.
So,
well,
I don't know.
The good thing is we're only responsible for ourselves, right?
Right, and I guess why I'm saying this is because the pain that I'm feeling sometimes and the pain that you're feeling, even though you've brought this wonderful book out and I'm going to channel something as well, and other people have brought books out, there really is, that we may as well look at it from a different perspective because, when you don't, or you're still going down that same dark road sometimes and lying to yourself throughout your life and the way your life is going, it ain't no easier than this, is it really? If this is making any sense.
I think when we're going down the dark road, that's when we're lying to ourselves. I think there is peace to be had. I'm not a big fan of the word happiness. I think a lot of that's overrated. Yes, there's joy, much joy in life. But I think the ultimate goal is peace. And I think that because the people that I know that have reached somewhat of a level of, awareness that I consider to be respectable, they're not walking around being happy and, out dancing and whatever, wearing great suits and smoking and living high on the hog. Most of them are pretty humble and they're just in a very peaceful spot. So that is what I'm striving for, especially in my times of darkness. Just return to that.
And talking about darkness, just right now, can this book, do you feel this book could help us to bring out old wounds or parts of us that we've not wanted to bring to the light or wanted to deal with or still question about where those parts of us come from?
I do. And I think that that's a good thing because I think that, as I discuss thoroughly in the book, that once we can feel our way through something, but we're not feeling, as my dad says, what we resist, we persist, right? So when we're not feeling it, it's just persisting over and over and over again. And when we feel it, we allow ourselves then the expression of it, then we release it through expression. And that's where the freedom is. That's where the connection is, I believe. And that's what I call the sacred formula, feel, express, connect. When we feel the feeling fully, even if it's scary, it's fear, it's pain from some childhood thing, or even if it's excitement, like something great happens and we're scared to jump up and down because we think that we may lose it or be gone soon. But whatever, we feel it fully and then we express that in some way, whether we're talking to someone directly, eye to eye, or journaling it, or just talking to ourselves or crying or anything, that is allowing the energy of the emotions, which are energy and motion, the vibration of that, to be released out of our body, which in turn, I believe, provides us with a deeper connection with ourselves and with other people if we are talking directly to them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just out of curiosity as well, what sort of spiritual texts are you reading nowadays, in a sense? Do you read other people's books much, or is there anything that really influences you right now?
I do. I wasn't during the time that I was writing the book because I didn't want to be sidetracked. And I just, after I wrote the book, a friend or somebody said, you know what this sounds a little bit like, not a lot, but you know what this sounds a little bit like, someone told me in December, The Untethered Soul. And I said, really? Oh, I'll have to get that book. And so I read that, I think, the beginning of January. And I was surprised and appalled to see that he actually had the chapter that says, who are you? Or something. I was like, what? I mean, I didn't think I made that up, but I was just thought that was so special that was my chapter. So I was relieved, though, that, this is why, because I would never have started my book like that had I read his book previous to mine. I would have said, oh, he's already done it. It'll look like I'm copying. So for that reason, I put it on hold when I'm doing projects like this so I can stay centered in my own energy and my own insight.
And isn't that interesting that maybe what's connecting with him, coming through him to write that book, is also the same energy that's coming to connect through you that helped you with this book.
Absolutely.
And it's that important that the same message comes through so many times because we never listened in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. I wouldn't take that as a negative thing. I think that's quite, just goes to show that you're connected.
Oh, yeah. No, I believe that. Like we were discussing pre-interview, that God and soul and all of it's the same thing. It's just energy and it's all vibrating at the same, and it's coming from everyone. So we're all putting it out there, all of our wisdom and insight, and it's all there to be had, there for the taking.
And who knows, it might be a past life aspect of you that's coming through. It might be something else that's connected with you that you don't know, that you've not shook a hand with yet, that's coming through.
That's right.
But whatever it is, it's very wise, and it's you. So I'm not going to in this interview take the power away from you, because whatever it is part of you. It is no set. It's you still.
Yeah.
That's how powerful that you are.
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, it is universal, wisdom and energy to be had, but it is come from my experience and is delivered through my voice. So absolutely.
Love yourself enough to say it came from you.
It's mine, baby.
It's yours, right. And others can do the same as well. Others have got a story to write that's just as powerful.
Yes, absolutely. Do it.
What do you know? What would you say? Well, there is just one other thing as well here. There was mention of a soul team as well, and that we've all got a soul team. What is your understanding of that?
My thought about that is that we're not meant to do it alone. And being someone that lives alone and works alone and is alone a large part of the time, I don't believe that that's the way life was, in this physical form was designed to be. And that we're here for each other. But it goes further than that. The people that when you connect with, I have a connection with them. And they could be your family, they could be some of your friends that you've known for a long time, they could be someone you just met, they could be the guy down at the grocery store, whatever. We feel that when we meet people like that and we click, we feel that. We feel that they have our best interests at heart and we have theirs. And that is what I mean by a soul team. And gathering those people in a little huddle visually, if you will, reminds us that we're not alone and allows us to feel that we are supported in times of feeling possibly isolated or lonely or like frustrated or overwhelmed or whatever we can all feel. And to be able to go to that soul team and have them come to us, and it's just an amazing sense of community, even if it's on the phone. I mean, so many of my friends are, in different states now, married and kids and so forth, but we still make time to connect. My soul team and I mean, I still connect with my regular friends too, but friends that are like, how are you? How are you feeling? How can I support you? And that I can't wait to return that support. That's what I call a soul team. We're in this together.
That's really beautiful. And your website as well, because obviously, is there a couple of websites here?
Well, there were, and I thought I was confusing everyone, so I shut down the other ones, and now they all go to soulcourage.com. That's just as it sounds, soulandcourage.com.
Right, okay, well that's been flashing up on the screen a number of times along with your book as well. And can they buy the book directly from that website, or is it best to go to Amazon? Or
yes, it just takes them to Amazon if they buy it from the website, or just pops them over to Amazon. So whatever's easier, if it's easier just to go to Amazon. Yeah, sure.
Okay, what would you say then is potentially the most important message of the book?
Oh my God, are you kidding me? You trickster. I think the overall message of the book is about remembering who we really are and allowing ourselves to bringing more awareness to live from our true self and not getting caught up in all the things that we do, which are listed in the book, to defend and protect and hide, and even our own things that we get swallowed up in. Shame and fear and so forth, but to just try and align ourselves with what we really know to be us, past this, and to live from that space.
And do you think, thank you by the way, and do you think from that space of just knowing our greatness in that sense of that we are this immense being in this having this experience, that by just going with gut feeling gut feeling and that intuitive side of us, which is always difficult to listen to sometimes, it will always guide us to purpose and where we need to be turning up in the moment now?
Absolutely. Because, there's no right or wrong. So you can say that it will always be guiding you to where you need to be. And that's what I always return to when I'm, resisting something. I say, you know what? It's all perfect. And you got to trust that. You got to know that. And if this is the way it's going to be forever, I don't want to go there. But that right now is happening exactly the way it should be.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, Tara-jenelle Walsch, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's been wonderful speaking with you, Kevin.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests on the show via themoreshow.co.uk, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.